Hello, my dear queridos. Welcome to this new moon in Scorpio transmission. I am like blown away right now by the energies in the sky, and I'm super, super excited to dive into this lunation with you. I wanted to just really quickly before we start that if you like this content, I would really appreciate it if you could like and share it. It'll help my channel grow. It'll help my voice get out to more people who wish to work with lunar wisdom. That is the intention of me making this post, that you are a gardener of your own garden, which is your earthly temple inside. It is your mind, it is your spirit. And I love La Luna. She is the greatest teacher, one of the greatest teachers of all time, of all time. So it's my passion to do this and share this information. I also like to invite any women who are interested in working deeper with the lunar cycle to come and join me in my lunar alchemy circle. We gather every new moon and full moon for breathworks and ceremony and sisterhood. And it is just a way to even deepen your practice and cultivate the seeds that you're planting within. So that's my spiel. Hope you like it. And let's get into it. Let's get into this lunation cycle. I think I'll start by speaking about the sun currently in Scorpio. Scorpio, at least in the northern hemisphere, it is the time of year where the darkness is increasing consistently. Slowly and surely, our days are getting shorter and our nights are getting longer. And from an archetypal perspective, as soon as we pass the equinox into the dark half of the year, it is like going into the underworld. We are here in the moment of a cycle of life where death is now the journey. The journey is down. And in Scorpio, it is slow and consistent and needs to call forth a lot of courage to be able to continue to operate in difficult places and shadow realms that can be uncomfortable to see. So the cycle of life and this time of journey of death and all the layers that we're processing, in my last video, I talked about Dia de Muertos and the connection between life and death on the Scorpio Taurus axis. So this is where we're going. Scorpio is about talking about that which we like to keep hidden, that which remains a secret, that which is the unspeakable, and it's a time to really take a look deeply at the shadows within us, the sun coming in like this beautiful torch of noetic light and, purpose, saying, this is the North Star right now. I am going through this temple and I am here to illuminate the shadows. And I thought it would be really cool to give you an example of something that I just saw recently on social media because it'll help you flavor, like, how do I start looking for this? What does that even mean, Alejandra? You're holding the candle in the shadow and, trying to find something. And I thought it would be really good. This is a really good example, so I hope you like it. I wanted to give a shout out to Chris Brennan of the Astrology Podcast. I love this dude. He is just this fountain of wisdom that speaks, his passion for astrology, his knowledge for astrology. I consider him one of my great teachers. I watch his channel, and I can already feel like I really want to take some courses with this guy because he's just, when he speaks, it lands in my system as truth. He recently made a Instagram reel and it spoke about that in astrology, what is it that we should be looking at? That this is a language, right? And there is a different way that astrologers can approach it and speak a language and essentially cultivate a relationship with the oracle. It's going to show you, Western astrology, which is what I practice. If you go to a Vedic channel, you're going to hear very different commentary about where the planet is sitting at the moment and what is the focus of this new moon. You can also have differences like quadrant-based house systems or whole sign house systems. And what that means is the way that the natal chart is broken apart. Whole sign is, puts it in these perfectly nice 30-degree boxes. And quadrant-based, can change things up a little bit. Two zodiac signs can reside within the same house. We have language like major aspects versus minor aspects. And, so there's so many different ways to approach astrology. And what I loved so much is he basically illuminated the shadow on this can be a place of contention for people who practice astrology, right? We can sort of puff up our chests and say, I'm a Western astrologer and this is why it's this way. Or, someone with Vedic can say, actually, no, it's not even the exact angle. And, the degree is really not what it says it is. And I have gotten into, I will say I have puffed up my chest, I'm sort of, I'm learning, okay? But I see where I have had that shadow sort of rear its ugly head and think of myself as a little like I'm doing it the correct way, and other people are like, I'm doing it the correct way. And there could be all this defensiveness. And what I love so much about Chris Brennan is he just basically tells everybody to shut up and be quiet. It's like a master teacher coming in, and he doesn't use those words. This is just me, interpreting it. But he comes in like a voice of reason. He comes in like a candle in the dark, saying, actually, this language is mercurial based. It is based in the form and the consciousness of Mercury, the divine messenger, the one who can go back and forth between the light and the dark, right through its forward motion and retrograde motion. It's the planet that does the most retrograde out of all of them, right? And this ease was him, Hermes, right? Seamlessly weaving his way through light and dark. And so he said he invited people to understand that if it is a mercurial language, then it's not one or the other, but rather it's both. That the most important, what I took from it is the most important is what language are you learning to cultivate, to speak to the oracle? And know that it is not the only language that will, render a response and an answer and an understanding, right? It's not the only one. There are many others. And so I really liked that as a understanding of something that can be illuminated within the Temple of Scorpio, a fixed sign, where it's, if you don't go and like really search, you're not going to find it. And what he did is he called out a collective shadow of astrologers that we all know is there, but maybe we don't talk about it. But it was like, can I just bring a voice of reason? And that is Mercury coming in, sitting at the exact same degree of the sun and moon as this new moon is taking place. Mercury's backpedaling in retrograde motion, saying, what do I need to talk about? What didn't I properly clarify? And all of a sudden, Chris Brennan makes this beautiful, amazing reel. And it's just short and simple. If you follow him, I'm sure you've seen it. And I posted it on my stories and I was like, I love you, Chris. And I just gave him a bunch of emoji roses, because it was like, thank you. Thank you for teaching me something that feels right. It feels like truth in my heart and respect to all my fellow astrologers out there that have their own technique of divination, that are building their own relationship to the oracle. So I hope that gives you just a little bit of feel of what it's like to find something in the shadow and come out and say, aha, and do something. And that really is what this new moon is all about. It's so powerful right? Something is dying to break open. Some fundamental change that is going to lift us off and blast us into a new place of liberation is dying to be seated in this moment. New moons are moments of deep prayer, in my opinion. They are a time when you devotionally go into your garden, where you look at the soil, where you see what you have planted, where you see the beautiful plants and trees and flowers and all the decorations, and you get to tell yourself, what else would I like to grow here? What else? And so we look at this new moon in Scorpio to understand, where is the moon pointing us to at this moment? And so for the women in my lunar alchemy circle, I invite you to get your moon chart and look, where does Scorpio rule? And for anyone, not just the women in the lunar alchemy circle, but anyone, where does Scorpio sit in your natal chart, right? Whatever house system or style, and what are the topics of that house? That is where the moon would like for your prayers to be focused and to be seated. So part of what we look at when we're understanding the flavor of this new moon, we look for its ruler. And where is the ruler operating in the skies? Mars is the ruler of Scorpio. That's the lens that I give. I don't give Pluto, dominion over Scorpio. I can understand the flavoring of that. For me, I choose to speak to the oracle as this is the feminine water temple of Mars. And where is Mars right now? Mars is in the house of Sagittarius. So what does that mean? What does that do? It means that Mars in Sagittarius is going to influence the emotional and the intentional prayers that you are going to seed in this temple. Optimism. Mars is feeling very optimistic right now. Okay. Mars is feeling very adventurous right now. This is a desire for freedom and knowledge. That is the place Mars is at. That is the place where Mars mentally is at right now. Okay. It's like when the warrior becomes more well-rounded, where the warrior begins to start to experience a little bit of culture, and goes through, training, but like the training of the scholars. That's what Mars is doing. He's getting refinement right now, and Sagittarius moves faster, than the Temple of Scorpio. It's a mutable sign. It wants to move faster. So Mars will want to move fast. Mars will want to, what other class, what other training, what else can I do? But it could lead to some frustration because this seeding moment is really about slowing down. You cannot do anything fast in the Temple of Scorpio. Maybe, you can very quickly like dodge something that's coming to self-sabotage and you move out of the way really quickly to save yourself. Maybe that kind of fast movement is possible. But when we talk about something that is going to be seated in this temple, we quiet down and we slow everything down. It is a fixed sign. These are spaces within our psyche that are more difficult to change. Okay. And maybe some people, maybe they are feeling like the slowing down, instead of being frustrated, they're actually very grateful. Maybe you're in the flow of what all these planets currently in retrograde are doing, to take a moment and say, thank you so much for slowing things down right now, because this is important. This one seeding moment is very important, and I want to do a good job at it. So that's currently where, Mars is at. All the planets right now are, not all the planets, but a lot of them are in retrograde, and they are speaking to the seeding moment of this new moon, which is very, very important. retrograde in ancient astrology, the way I was taught is, there are ways you can speak about what happens when planets go into retrograde. Certainly, it is a time of review, a time of revision, a time of looking back and going through a process. And when I took, it could also be a time of distress, right? The planet is not allowed to move in its of its own volition, right? It was seen as like the gods sort of pick up the planet and they have to surrender to the will of the gods. That's when the primary motion, all of a sudden the planets start following this primary motion and they're not able to move in the way that they normally do. So we've got the seeding moment taking place now at 28 degrees in Scorpio, and it is in alignment with the Grand Water Trines that have been coming through for the past couple, the past few weeks. And I've done some YouTube videos speaking about the Grand Water Trines as a moment of deep purification, and the purification could be, you're treading water and you're trying to just stay afloat, or you just got to surrender and go under. It's something like that. Well, Jupiter is now in retrograde, and that is one of the aspects coming from the Temple of Cancer to the Temple of Scorpio. So what does that mean? Jupiter is wanting to review all themes related to family, related to ancestors, related to women, related to the goddess, related to the emotional body, related to the child of you. Lots of the child of you is coming up. And when I think about, recently, as I make this video, it's a day before the new moon, there were a lot of the Epstein survivors that have come out and they were able to speak in Washington. And I think it was a Senate hearing. I think so. That is, a perfect example. Something so expansive on such a large scale, the abuse of children now being in the process of review and just a speaking out of enough, right? Trines are of the nature of Jupiter. Trines are typically there to bring blessings. That is what Jupiter does as a planet. It is the significance of Jupiter is blessings. So think about, something like that and look at places that you are reviewing with your own family, with your roots. The trine, because Mercury is there helping seed the new moon, the trine will amplify understanding. Remember, Mercury is the intellectual brilliance, the one, the decoder, the demystifier, the one that can speak multiple languages, whether in astrology or like think of all the languages in which we speak in the world. Think of all the languages that the animals can communicate with one another. Mercury is the godfather, the patron of saint of all of this communication. So the trine is going to amplify a lot of understanding as it connects to these different water temples. What are the shadows of your family? What are the ways that you've been raised? Let's call it, with Saturn and Pisces also speaking, what are the emotional architecture that you've breeded that is now showing itself, right? Scorpio, that shadow, you cannot help see things come to light, secrets that were kept long before, now finally voicing themselves. That is what's going on at this moment where we are asked to make a prayer and seed something within this temple. So Mercury is going to ask you to review all things that are of intellectual stimulation. So this is your thought patterns, your communication styles, the way your mind works. It's going to be a very mental one, but a mental one in the sense that I am simply going to look back in order to be able to then move forward. So I hope that makes sense. Coming from the trine on the other side, from the Temple of Pisces, we have Saturn and Neptune. Saturn is also in retrograde. Saturn has also slowed down and is in a period of its own review. And in Pisces, there you think of what kinds of spiritual growth, what kinds of limitations have you reached along your journey that Saturn is now reviewing to say, what are, when, because eventually it will turn direct. So let me review my spiritual development up until this point. How has it been going? What else needs to shed and die? Saturn is associated with death or with the threshold of from one thing to the next. So you're going to be going through, it could be a revisit of spirituality and, of how you're going to grow from this moment forward. As it's going through its review period, ultimately it is for new growth and new life once Saturn returns to Aries to start something fresh. Another planet also speaking to this new moon, same Temple of Pisces, is Neptune. Neptune is also retrograde. And Neptune is such an interesting planet. It's an elusive place to be. It is a foggy place. It can bring confusion, but it can also bring incredible mysticism. I like in the most positive sense, I like to think of Neptune as, when I'm praying the rosary and when I'm walking and just holding and, just like, I think of, God, there's this beautiful shrine, a temple, a Buddhist temple in Sedona. Can't remember what the actual name of it is. And you have to walk around, what do they call them? It's not a pagoda. Is it a pagoda? If you know what it is, please put the word in the comments because I'm blanking right now. But you're essentially walking around and, in prayer. And what that does is this circumambulates, around, and you're in the process of conjuring something. Neptune energy conjures, right? There is a conjuring moment, but it's also in a place of review. What has clouded my vision from the past? Are there any illusions that are now falling away so that a new prayer can be spoken? It's a very, very mystical element right now taking place in Pisces. And all of this is harmoniously coming together. So from the Temple of Scorpio, where the new moon is seated, conjunct Mercury, to Jupiter retrograde in Cancer, speaking to Pisces and Neptune, Saturn and Neptune retrograde, both of them in Pisces, and they form this trine in the sky. Expansion, blessings, and in water sign, it is the birthing portal, the portal of our great mother, the portal of the womb. Something deep is coming through. And, an exalted Jupiter in Cancer is just seeding all goddess energy, all kinds of goddess energy coming through right now, the ethers. And Pisces, again, the exaltation of Venus, the goddess of love. It's so beautiful and so powerful. And if that wasn't enough, we also have the planet Uranus opposite the new moon. And this is one of the most, I would say, demanding of energies. Oppositions are considered some of the toughest aspect in charts. Why? Because they are ruled by Saturn. It is the nature of Saturn, the master teacher here to teach you. And it creates a tug of war. And what happens if one energy is greater than the other? Then, you lose the balance. The mastery of why Saturn rules the oppositions is how can you balance this together? How can you hold the tension and make two things exist equally at the same time? Make them both be true. So with Uranus also retrograde, also in a place of review, is now wanting to bring more disruption, more awakening, and more surprise to the earthly feminine temple of Taurus. But again, it's a fixed sign. These are the Scorpio and Taurus are very difficult houses to create change. They will not be sudden. So once again, we are asking for the seed that is going to be planted. The energy of this new moon is saying in the long run. In the long run, there is wherever you have been resisting change, right? These fixed signs, Uranus opposite the seeding moment is saying, whatever you've been resisting, we will eventually break it free. We will eventually break it open. So it is forming, what this does is it forms the trine, and then the tail comes and it's a kite. Think of it like the base where Uranus is in Taurus, the earth temple. Taurus is Gaia. Taurus is the earth. Taurus is us and our home. That a massive awakening is coming now. And to be ready, because as soon as Uranus re-enters Gemini, the pace picks up all over again. So it's ready to break free, you know? The kite is a symbol of something that wants to absolutely transform. It's, Mary Poppins taking it and flying off to new heights. Something here. It's like, I'm just like, wow, this is one of the most powerful new moons and I just love it. Like I'm loving it. And there can be turmoil, right? There can be turmoil. It is not an easy trip to go and confront all of your shadow. It is not fun to go into the depths. And but those are where the gems will be. That is where absolutely the gems will be. So this new moon seeding is like, I thought I went deep enough, but all these planets in retrograde are, and now I have to seed it in the Temple of Scorpio with Mercury's assistance. It's like there is a whole other layer of depth I didn't even know I needed to reach. But that is where this seed is going to be planted. And from the depth of that place, something is coming that will absolutely revolutionize my life and my journey. So as I was writing this, I was trying to think of a good image, for the thumbnail and stuff like that. And the movie The Abyss came to mind. And I had to just talk about this scene because I was like, this is really crazy because this feels exactly like the new moon. So if you don't remember The Abyss, it's a James Cameron movie. It's from the 1980s. I think it's 89. And there is a team of divers. I wish I should have watched the movie beforehand. But I didn't. I looked on YouTube and I was like, what's that one scene where, Ed Harris, one of the characters, is in this, nifty suit, right? That allows him to explore the depth of this underwater ocean abyss. And at some point, there's turmoil, and this cord that connects him to the mothership, the main ship that's a little higher, in the ocean on some plateau, cuts, right? So Mars, the severing. And he falls deeper into the abyss and he lands on like a ledge. And now he has absolutely no connection to go up. And it is scary. It's really scary. And what happens? Well, his suit doesn't work anymore. It still protects him, right? He can still breathe, but he has no idea how he's going to get out. And that's kind of a Mercury retrograde, right? Like the whatever system in place, technology I had to help me go deeper, I need to revamp something because it no longer serves. This one needs to fall and something new needs to come. And what happens? All of a sudden, out of nowhere, this butterfly glowing alien underwater species comes from even deeper down that he was not able to get to and rises up, swims up, and just like positions. It feels feminine, so I'm going to say herself in front of him. And it's glowing and it's like pinks and whites and it feels like angelic. And she takes him by the hand and they go even deeper, even deeper. I was like, that is an opposition from Uranus, right? That is like, surprise! We're going to take you to an underwater alien civilization. It's like, oh my God. And everything sort of needed to fail, right? We needed to, the technology needed to break down Mercury retrograde in order for something new to step forward and reveal itself. So wherever Scorpio sits in your chart, look for that place as the moment to seed this prayer. Look at where Taurus sits. What revolutionary ideas and changes and disruptions are taking place over there? That is the ultimate, one of the ultimate results, right? It's something along the Taurus Scorpio axis and this Grand Water Trine, our great mother in the portal of her womb, just birthing this out for our spiritual growth and development, for the healing of generations of family, karma, for our inner child and nurturing as we move forward. But what's it going to take? Your prayer is a courage to go inward, a courage to confront unknown places that you haven't visited, going into therapy and diving deeper into your wounds, trying plant medicine for the first time, being adventurous, and I don't know, whatever that wants to bring, whatever that means to you, right? So that your soul, your prayer descends deep into this fertile temple and deposits the seed to eventually come out and sprout as revolutionary change. Great transformation for your own temple. I hope that helps. I love you very much. Remember, if you liked what you saw, you can like this post, you can share it, you can comment. I would love to hear if it resonates with you. And I just send you all of my love for a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful new moon in Scorpio. And if you're in the Lunar Alchemy Circle, I will see you for our breath work. We're going to get very sultry. I got a nice and spicy playlist for us. All right. Thank you so much. Mwah. Take care.